Hi there, my name is Brian and I'm a solutions engineer at Varnish Software. And today we're going to be talking about S3 shielding with Storj and Varnish Software. Now, a lot of the times when people think of S3, they just think of AWS, but there are less expensive alternatives out there. And in this video, we're going to show exactly how easy it is to set up an S3 bucket in Storj and then create a Varnish S3 shield in front of it. Now, let's take a look at what that looks like. If you aren't familiar with S3 shielding, the goal is to maximize their performance and reduce our origin requests as much as possible. We do this by creating a self-routing caching cluster in front of the origin. In this case, we have 3 Varnish nodes in front of a Storj S3 bucket. When a client request comes into Varnish, if it's a cache miss, instead of going straight to the origin, it will reach out to the other Varnish nodes in the cluster. If none of the nodes have the object, then the request will self-route back to the original node. When Varnish detects it is self-routed, it will fetch the request from the origin. Any request for this object from our other nodes will then end up fetching this from our cached Varnish instance here. Using clustering, you end up maximizing your caching footprint, creating dedicated caches for different objects. Now that we understand S3 shielding, let's set up a bucket. Now with Storj, setting up an S3 bucket is super easy. All that we have to do is go to Browse, click on New Bucket. Let's create a new testing bucket. And just like that, we're done. Now we can either drag and drop or upload any files into the bucket that we choose. With our S3 bucket created, we now need to create an access key for our Varnish nodes to be able to pull from here as our S3 shield. So let's go ahead and create a new access key called Varnish Access. We want S3 credentials, perfect. We want to go to advanced and just give us only read permissions. And then we're going to select buckets and do it on this testing bucket that we just created. And just like that, we've created our access key ID, our secret key, and we have our endpoints. Hold on to this information though. Do not close it until we're done with our next step, okay? We're going to need it for our Varnish repo. So let's go ahead and look at that. All right, now this is my local repo for the Varnish S3 shield, particularly the Ansible deployment method. For this, you're going to want to go to your S3 comp file, and you're going to want to enter in the access key and secret access key from before. Make sure that your S3 bucket address is correct, and if you want to adjust your TTL, you can do so here. Other than the S3 comp file, we also need to go to the inventory YAML and drop in the Varnish Enterprise Repository token here. Then we just need to drop in the hosts for all of the servers we want to deploy Varnish to for our S3 shield. After that's done, we simply just run this line and everything gets deployed. All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and skip showing the deployment, but our S3 shield is in place. First, let's look at response times for Storj without the S3 shield though, just to see its value. And for that, what I did was I spun up a server that takes any request as a pass to our S3 bucket. So when I make this request for localhost, it's really just a request or a redirect to our S3 bucket, okay? Looking at this times, we can see about a value of this, so about that fast. And if we take a look at the curl with more detail, we can see that we are indeed serving from Storj, and our age value for this is 0, indicating that we are indeed not using any caching. All right, cool. Let's look at that curl for the speed one more time though, just to bring it closer to the rest of what we're looking at as we look at now our S3 shield. So for that, instead of curling to localhost, we're actually just going to curl to one of our instances in this S3 shield. Boom. And we can see that the first request does take a little bit of time because it was a cache miss. It had to fetch it from our origin. But after that, all of our requests are blazing fast. And we can see if we compare them again to localhost, about 0.08 seconds versus 0.003 or 0.001 or something like that. So super, super fast. If we take a look at this curl one more time, not only do we see our Storj header, but we also see not one, but actually 2 of our Varnish headers, indicating that we are using our cluster. And before Varnish reached out to Storj, it actually checked in with another Varnish node. We've shown we can make things faster. Let's show we can make them cheaper. Using WRK, I'm going to put a load on our S3 shield like this. We're going to have 10 connections and 2 threads making requests for 10 seconds for 100 kilobyte size objects. And we can see that we just read out 2.3 gigs of data. However, if we take a look at the dashboard for our S3 bucket and refresh this page, we'll see that today I've only read out about 12 megs of data. And let me tell you, this was absolutely not the first time that I've ran this test today. Absolutely lost track. So trust me, we've shielded a whole lot of data. And just like that, we're done, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Brian from Varnish Software. It means a lot. Hope you guys have a good one. Thanks.